Good evening. Welcome to IT Present. Hi, Joseph. We cannot hear you either. Okay. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I just unmute the other phone in. Very
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thanks for joining us today. Joseph is our guest speaker. And let me try to greet you and introduce each other. We changed form a bit. As we have a small group, let's try to greet each other by turning on our video now. Okay? Let's turn on the video and wave at each other so that we know you're here and get engaged with us. Could you do that? Yes. We are live streaming here. So Anna, you can turn it into a gallery mode. Yes, thank you so much, Renzo. And we have name, right? You can tell us name.
Yeah, Kanan. You can call me Kanan.
Kenan.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. How about Renzo? How to say your name?
That's correct, Renzo.
Renzo. Okay. And we have Kiran and Johanna. They are the crew behind the scene to work on the live streaming, so we won't bother them. How about Anna? Let's all turn on the video. Hi. And then Theda. With Theda. We have Jake and Eric. Can you all turn on video and wave to each other? I think that's better. Since we have a small group here. Jake and Eric. Thanks for joining us. Jake is the department head of digital art department. Hi, Eric. All right. So let's go through the agenda quickly. I just did a little introduction. It's nice to see all of you. And I'm going to talk about the etiquette. We can mute our mic, but when we listen to speaker, you can always smile and nod our head and look up camera. All right. And next we have our president now to give us an update. Unfortunately, I don't see him yet, so we may need to switch the order a little bit, Joseph. So perhaps we can let you talk first, and at the end he can join us. We need to be flexible a little bit here. And we already said that Joseph is going to talk about key technologies and their impact to Silicon Valley tech economy. Then we'll have Q&A and then networking. Notice that we'll have a break in between. We try to use 7:25 as the time to start the next session, networking. Before that, we will be flexible. You really see the dynamic and go with that. All right. So this is the agenda. Today is the second show. We learn a lot from the first one. Today, we want to say, hey, how can we present ourselves well? Right? Because every event you're here, you represent yourself, and you also represent ITU, and people also watch us from YouTube, so they want to see us, and we want to present us well. So number one is up for the occasion. All right, I just up myself. I feel good, and sit up for the camera. In this way, we can all create a very positive energy. All right, and at the end, we should ask questions. I'm going to get some example. What mean intelligent questions from my own experience? Because I always said there's no dumb questions. Okay, that's good. We encourage you to ask questions. But what if you come prepared and ask intelligent questions that really help you stand out, and the speaker will remember you? Okay, so that is the trick. And as what I said, you see a little bit different here. The class is talk. Why do we call it a? Have you ever think about that? So I want to take a little time here to say this name is just a service to show our mindset. We want to embrace the trend of entertainment, that is education plus entertainment, so that we all learn something well or enjoying what we're doing. So the trick is we use a series. Series will give us a chance to talk about emerging technology from different angles. First talk, the speaker talk about from a executive coach perspective. So we assume technology is there already. How do entrepreneurs he's going to give us a rich education on emerging technology itself. So watch out, it's going to be great. And later on, will invite. Next one is about this class is a class. We will have quite an hour requirements. That's why students need to listen carefully and work on the discussion later on and work on homework. All right. And of course, we'll live this episode. This is about the now culture. People are so busy. Once on, if they say, hey, we have this event, but you have to wait for us to download it, maybe in tomorrow or in a week, then they forget about it. So this is the mindset. They can watch it. It's only 5 seconds delay, but we'll have Anna will watch our audience on the YouTube so we can relay their questions together. All right. So again, every time we set up expectation for speakers and for students. So students listen carefully and see if the talk really address these 3 questions. If not, then at the Q&A session, this is your chance to ask them, right? But friendly, okay? Friendly and intelligent. All right. So, well, we're supposed to have Preston here. Let me double check if our Preston is here or not. Oh, he's here. That's great. Hey, Preston Yao, it's time. It's your time. Are you ready?
Oh, yep. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Here. I'm here.
Hey.
Hello.
Who is the handsome boy?
That's my boy.
Welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So would you give us some exciting update about ITU?
Some exciting updates about ITU.
Yes.
From last week, what is happening? Well, I guess we've finalized the structure. So for all of our students who are still getting familiar, the nugget structure we started just this term, and ITU Presents is a part of the ITU nugget structure. The nugget structure is designed so that our students will benefit most from interacting with industry. So you can see that with ITU Presents, where Michelle is inviting top
screen.
industry people
Share
to
screen.
不要这样子，爸爸现在在跟其他人讲。
Sorry.
Where Michelle is getting industry experts to come speak directly to the students. This this format allows for our students to be able to talk directly and share from the experiences and the successes of industry leaders in Silicon Valley. Also, what we're also doing is inviting experts who are in the cutting edge areas of Silicon Valley technology to teach nugget classes. Nugget, of course, are the same as any other ITU course in terms of the quality, the delivery, and the assessment. However, they're truncated versions, so they're only 再不要你去跟妈妈了，如果你这样子的话不可以。Sorry. So we are this term we have just finalized the offer letter for Dr. Stefan Al. So any of you who are interested in city building technologies or design, or architecture, or landscape architecture, landscape design, or environmental sustainability, might be interested in Dr. Stefan Al's. He's teaching a series of 4 nugget courses. The first one will be on city design and the history and introduction of city design. The second nugget structure class, both of these will be 8 hours each, will be on sustainability, the best practices worldwide in all of the cities, all the top cities in the world, in utilizing sustainable technologies so that it's the most environmental friendly and the most benefit for the citizenship. The third part of the Dr. Al's Nugget will be a studio. So in this studio, half of it will be learning the tools. So architecture, the software utilized is called Rhino, and another one called Grasshopper. And the first part of the studio will be learning the tool. So it's a 3D design tool. I would think much like AutoCAD, or for those of you who are in digital arts, it would be like Maya or 3D Max. And then the second part of the studio will actually to be design a 3D structure, probably something small. So at the end of the class, once the students perfected the use of the tool set, can 3D print it, and we can have examples of what can be done in software that can then be spit out using a 3D printer. Now, the fourth nugget course Dr. Al will be teaching will be joint taught by myself and Dr. Stefan Al. So I'm kind of coming out of a hiding. I haven't taught at ITU since 2007. I used to teach a lot when I was at USC and at UCLA. So this is the first time I'll be teaching a course in over, let's see, 13 years. So I'm very excited about it. The prerequisite for the final Nugget course is that students that want to take the fourth Nugget will have to have, well, the prerequisite will be students will have to first take the first 3 Nugget courses with Stefan Al. And, students will have a chance and to spend a lot of time with me, because I'll be in every studio class, and I'll have a lot of intimate face-to-face time with any student who decides to be in that class. That final Nugget course will also be studio, much longer in length. And by that time, the students should be very familiar with the software Grasshopper and Rhino. And the project will be to design from one giant block of styrofoam, which will be basically 8 wide by 10 tall by 12 feet long. And utilizing Rhino, they will have to custom design a bathroom. The bathroom will have a stand for the toilet, and then of course we will put in all the fixtures so that we can put a toilet on there that works, and it will have that's built into the styrofoam, and then it'll the vanity and any kind of shelving units that the student would design in, as well as shower or a bathtub. And then if we believe that one of the student design fit our standard of excellence, probably the top student, we will then we will CNC route from one block of styrofoam. And right now, Rhino, the software is precise down to 1/16 of an inch. CNC cutting is also the tolerances are also very precise like that. So the idea is that utilizing that design, one block of styrofoam can then be fit in to a house to replace a pre-existing bathroom. In this case, we now have a 40-foot shipping container. I'm sure those of you who are interested in building and in construction know that shipping containers, used shipping containers, have a lot of structural strength. They're built to withstand 7 shipping containers on top. So they're built to withstand a lot of weight, and they're very cheap. Used ones can go as cheap as $2,000 or less. We have a shipping container on our storage grounds in Stockton. So the winning design, we will cut out, and we will then laminate it using a type of hardener, which is very much like epoxy. And then we fit that into the shipping container, and that will become the bathroom for a living container. To convert a shipping container into a living unit in Stockton. So that's very exciting. That's I think kind of the latest news that's been confirmed, and we're very excited. For students who don't know Dr. Al, his background is he was principal designers for the Canton TV tower. For those of you who speak Chinese, are familiar with Guangzhou, formerly called Canton. It's called Xiaomao. It's the tallest TV tower in the world. It's over 600 meters high, so about twice the height of the Eiffel Tower, and it has a very unique design. Dr. Al has his PhD in urban design from UC Berkeley, and he was a tenure track professor in landscape architecture from Pennsylvania State University, which is one of the top landscape architecture schools in the world. Stefan, right now, he's in Manhattan working for a top firm, and mostly what he does is he designs city level planning and buildings and neighborhood planning for new cities in China. He has also been on the board for sustainable design in Hong Kong. So he's a very capable gentleman. He's very nice to work with. Maybe can you go? out, please, with him. It's a little loud. So we have someone who has a lot of wonderful background, internationally renowned architect who is very accomplished, and he will be working directly with our students. So this is very exciting. If I have the time, and I'm going to do my best to make the time, I'm going to be sitting in to the first three nuggets with Dr. Al myself. So I'll be taking classes with the students. So I encourage students who are interested in design, in architecture, in new composite construction, in development, to come look into this course that will probably be offered sometime in the next month or two. It might be pushed to fall, but I think it still should be within the summer term that this nugget will come out. And if you keep paying attention to the website, and as well as Bell and ITU Presents, we will make announcements, and that date, the start date, is finalized.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Yao.
Okay.
Yes, I just put in a background. Do you see this is the Canton Tower? That's Yao talked about. It's very exciting development. Do you see that? See, this is the Canton Tower.
Yeah, I'll say a few words about this. Now, for all the students looking on, you can see on the picture on the right, or okay, I guess, well, any of the pictures, you can see that all the other buildings are maybe 1/6, even the skyscrapers are 1/6 the size. So they're probably about 100 meters high.
Okay.
So the TV tower is 600, and I think it's about 607 meters high. Now, if you look at the construction, it looks like they bent the steel beams so that it's created a waist for the tower. Now, this is very special because most TV towers look very masculine, very sturdy looking. They have structural points that look like the Eiffel Tower, for example. It's very male, very sturdy. Whereas when this tower was put up, everyone remarked at how feminine it looked because it seemed to have a waist. So it looks like they bent those steel girders to make that waist, but actually those are all straight pillars. But what they did, slant, and in the middle, they're connected to a set of, I believe it's 14 oval shapes that kind of get smaller and then get bigger, and then slant them. They go up, 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 up. And then so when they connect each one of the beams, it makes it so that it gives the visual image that the beams are coming in and then coming out, but actually they're all straight beams. They're just going at an angle, so it creates the illusion that they're bending when they're actually not. It's another very interesting thing about this tower is that it's called the Canton TV Tower. I found that quite interesting because the city of Guangzhou is Guangzhou, of course. Then the province of which Guangzhou is in is called Guangdong. So it's Guangdong province, Guangzhou city. However, when my my grandfather was running Guangzhou city, it was known, both the city and the province were Romanized, meaning the English enunciation was not Guangzhou, was not Guangdong, it was pronounced Canton City and Canton Province. And it was during my grandfather's reign in 1928 to 1936, 8 years, that my grandfather, who was basically one of the big five in China during the 1920s and 30s, he had a vision to build out Canton as a model that could have social services and could give a lot of benefit. For example, free medical care for the poor, abundant education, heavy emphasis on education, a lot of stimulus for foreign investment to come in, and also low regulations for starting up new entrepreneurships. So the reason why they chose the name Canton TV Tower was because for Westerners, harken back to the days of abundance and basically the golden age of uh, uh, of Canton when it was first industrialized, and it so happens that that was industrialized by my father. So for me, uh, Stefan has a lot of these kind of interesting connections where he built it, this monument, which he did very young. I don't even think he was in his mid 30s when he was designing this thing. And like I said, it's twice the height, almost twice the height of the Eiffel Tower. It has some connection with my grandfather's reign. So Stefan's very dear to me in as a friend, but also has these professional and family connections. Okay, I won't give any more time.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Yao, because this is important. Share some new development in ITU and also share the family inheritance with Canton and everything just put together. You have a very special personal bond in every new development. Thank you for sharing us. This is very important. This is emotional and personal. The same thing today, this is a special feature about ITU is for our speaker. They also share about their personal and professional journey, the journey of transformation. So let's welcome our speaker, Joseph. Joseph, we're very lucky to have you here because Joseph is also an old friend of ITU. He gave talk to IT before, very impressive. And he's highly regarded in the venture and technical communities for his knowledge in wearable, ITU, and other frontier technologies. You may notice the poster will put IoT there. It's more than that. So he's going to tell us all about that. So now we'll like to Joseph. Let's give him a welcome applause. So I'm going to let you share your screen now.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. So now you can share your screen.
You have to enable me on the other one because I have two login, one for my voice and one for my video. So to make sure that.
Okay, I see. So let me do that for you. So I will put both into co-host. Now can you see that?
Not yet.
All right. Oh, I think you log in and log out again. So I'm doing that. So both
I can do it now.
as co-host.
Can you see the screen?
Yes.
And you can hear me okay. So I learned a little bit of trick after studying a little bit about Zoom because it's got so popular lately. So when you use the Zoom video and audio on your computer at the same time, they share the bandwidth between your audio and video. So sometimes that's why people are getting some sound quality challenge because they do not split out the voice part versus the video part. So now I'll give you a little bit of my personal interest in technology because I'm basically and a very I'm a nerd by heart. I'm really interested in the various technology. When they don't work, I actually go investigate and then look how they really can be better and how they really work. So thank you again for inviting me to come and speak to the students and also have this presentation on YouTube for everyone to share. and go over the. Actually, I like to be more interactive. I know it's a little bit challenging managing in a big group, so I'll go through the slide presentation. I think we have reserved some time at the end of my presentation for Q&A. So I appreciate people to be more interactive and ask lots of questions. So the little bit disclaimer is there's many different people's perspective about different things, different technology, how they impact this Silicon Valley, and so I'm just sharing my part of the story, and so this is based on my personal experience. So speaking from my origin, I was born in Hong Kong, actually just outside Canton. So I was born there. I lived there for about 15 years before I came to the United States for high school. So I knew a little bit about Canton and Guangdong. It's kind of like sometimes we refer to Beijing. At one point, it's also referenced as Peking, Peking, when people refer, use different terminologies. Uh, so as I mentioned to you, I came here in high school. I went to a private high school in Massachusetts, and then I went to Tufts University, and then I got a job in the company actually is along 128 Bell. So back 40 years ago in Massachusetts, it's about I would say more than a dozen computer companies. That since then, many of them have disappeared because they did not catch the wave of the PC. So there's also some very famous consumer electronic company, like for example Polaroid. Now the instant camera company is also based out 128 Belt. Um, so I joined a company called Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC for short, just like IBM. So we basically competed with IBM to take the IBM mainframe to make it smaller. We call mini computers. And at the time, the operating system that was in favor started out in Unix, and then move over to Windows. And when my decision to move out to the Silicon Valley actually is more of a personal one. My parents actually decided to retire from Hong Kong, and I was in Boston, so winter cold. So they said, "Sorry, son, not going to be. We're going to be retiring in Mountain View, California, where my sister lives. So the weather all year round is nice, and so I decided to put my family out in 1996." And I joined a company from Japan called NEC Corporation. It's about a $45 million conglomerate. They at the time when I joined them, they had one is in system like computers, and then one is in communication. But nowadays, NEC is more focused on the communication part. Um, oh, okay. Let me. I just got a message. The other part, when after let's see, in 1999, I had the opportunity actually to join a. Let me just do this real quick. I was told that my video stopped. It says I'm still on my screen, so let me just continue and see. I joined a company called Silicon Graphics Inc., also referred to SGI. Is at that time, SGI and Sun were starting in the 90s or in the 80s, late 80s, and they were high-flying Unix computer companies. And I was able to help them to start a brand new product group based on open source Linux. So that's in 1999, 6 years after Linux was developed. So we were quite early at the time. And it was a very interesting experience, but also a very challenging time because there's no big competitors except us. So it took a while for that market to develop, and I switched over to another company called Emphas, which is a startup that they make Blaze servers. So basically, what's a Blaze server is a they call Blaze. Basically, it's a bunch of CPU boards sitting in the back plane, and they at the time it was around the .com day, so they are very optimized for the standard to use. And I joined another company in 2004 called Inventec. Inventec actually built the first iPod for Apple, and some of the earbud um, that a lot of people are using are also manufactured by Inventec. How I learned about that was actually when I was with SGI. I learned about the manufacturing capability in Asia, and I outsourced the manufacturing of the SGI servers and workstation to a company called Wistron based in Taiwan. So Inventec's headquarters is also based in Taiwan. Um, and It was a very interesting experience because at that time, there's a trend towards US outsourcing a lot of the hardware manufacturing to oversee all the cost. The ins and outs of why Asia has actually the capability and the skill set to be able to do a lot of these hardware manufacturing so cost effectively. And then in 2008, 2009, I think during the financial meltdown, then I actually started up a management consulting company called Technology. I focus on helping companies, usually foreign companies, to establish their strategy and presence in the United States. So one company that was out of China is called 360.com wanted to build a startup incubator called Lab 360. So in 2014, 2018, I helped them run that startup incubator. So I was involved with a lot of startups. If you really want to understand the history of technology in Silicon Valley, I encourage you to go to this URL on YouTube. It's a very comprehensive timeline-based how Silicon Valley became a $2.8 trillion marketplace for technology. So another thing is, you look up on Google Map Silicon Valley. I mean, there's no city or county called Silicon Valley. But in 1971, a reporter, Don Hoffler, wrote a book called about semiconductor industry, and he came up with the term Silicon Valley, and that got stuck with everybody. So, and I'll explain a little bit about the Silicon Valley in terms of map. So it consists kind of like the whole Bay Area, where it also composed of different type of folk technology, including life science, social media, life science, enterprise, on local area, and then on the East Bay side, I didn't put as many companies, but the biggest company is in Fremont, in cleantech, is obviously Tesla. So I mentioned about Silicon Valley is not really it's a it's a reference, and then mainly it's composed of the 8 million people in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it has critical mass. That's the biggest difference between Silicon Valley versus Austin, Seattle, and other major technology hub like around the world, because we venture capitalists started back like 40 or 50 years ago, who basically helped launch a lot of the tech companies that I'll mention in a more detailed slide later. We also have a bunch of serial entrepreneurs. We have now in the last 10, 12 years, startup accelerators to help startup to accelerate their building up their business. Obviously, another thing is the source of students. We have Stanford, Santa Clara University, ITU, San Jose State, to provide the engineering student to help these companies. And also existing large tech companies, so there's a lot of ecosystem built around Apple or Intel or other company like Facebook. And then the other thing is the culture. So entrepreneurial culture is very prominent in the Silicon Valley. Where, if you fail, nobody basically. Actually, it is a a good check mark if you are an entrepreneur that you have failed once, because the assumption is that you have learned a lot more. Then you apply that learning experience into your next venture. Where uh, some in some culture where business failure is a significant impact into the entrepreneur in getting funding for their new venture. And also, it's a we have this is a place where we have a lot of talent wants to come. And the last part is there's no quantifiable study that I can find anywhere in the world, but I've traveled around the world to Europe, to Asia to give talks. So I've experienced a lot of different weathers. In the San Francisco Bay Area, weather is always nice. So you don't have like, oh, let's say you go out to Boston in the middle of winter, you want to schedule a meeting at 3 o'clock, and then a snowstorm comes. Then no more, you no longer can hold a meeting. You have to postpone it. But here it's always so. I think that also gives the benefit of being for startups or being doing business in the Silicon Valley. So this is kind of a very busy chart. So it goes through about 100 years of history. Uh, no, actually, yeah. So it's 100 years of history of Silicon Valley, of the different type of technology and the company that was founded during that time. And I'll go into a little bit of of them in details, and I can share with you the impact to the industry. So without going into specific detail, every decade, I just lumped them as before 1970s. So company Hewlett Packard. So at the time, actually, did not. It was referred to as Hewlett Packard, not HP. So they started actually making test instruments, and then the microwave and the defense industry, like Varian, NASA. That's why we have muff. So at that time in 1909, so we talk about the radio tower. So San Jose becomes the home, one of the first radio towers in the country. Um, Aerospace. So as we drive up and down now near Mountain View, on one that you see, this is the Moffett Field, that where NASA had that the research labs and that focus on a lot of the space technology. And then in the 1950s, there's the start of the transistor. That's where I think this is based out in Mountain View. That is the start of the kind of the semiconductor industry. So the next 2 decades, once we start out with the integrated circuits, or that's another term for semiconductor. At the same time, the semiconductor needs to run on software, needs software to. So that's a combination of two things that was happening in the 1970s. So the trend becomes more powerful, and a group of people left and formed this company, which is one of the first major semiconductor companies in the Silicon Valley. And later on, then we have Intel and I put down Atari here. Well, I think that name is still recognized by a lot of people. They are the one first company that built gaming machines using these sometime semiconductor technologies. And then the software company like Oracle, Adobe also were formed around that time. And then in the late 70s to the early 1990s, that's when the PC industry started. So you have Apple and HP, and also I think that's when the networking also gets started, and that's when Cisco actually started to build out the infrastructure for the internet. So nowadays, so that we can easily access anything anywhere in the world. And then within in the Bay Area, there's also a big group of life sciences company got formed, and some of these are now the market leaders in the pharmaceutical market, like Amgen and GLAD. So these are the kind of four or five technology that happened during that time that really impacted the Silicon Valley, even today. But obviously now to the impact today in the 1990s to now has shifted. So there's a lot of what we call internet-based business, starting out with Yahoo being an internet directory. The first one actually have so they start the search engine actually before I think before Google, but the method they because they are a internet directory, they use a combination of automatic crawling of the internet as well as manual based. So they because they also do they sell advertising. So later on, the model was kind of overtaken by Google because of the amount. Google search engine was pure based on crawler, which is much more efficient than using human to manually crawl the internet. And during that, there's also another famous company that some of you might have heard. It's called Netscape. So Netscape is the first company that came out with the internet browser, and now Netscape was pretty much got crushed when Microsoft uh, also come out with their own browser called Internet Explorer, and then the Internet Explorer is bundled with the Windows operating system. So by default, every PC has a browser that comes with the PC, so you don't have to go to internet or go somewhere at the time. So imagine this is back 20 something years ago. So not everybody is online. We don't have high speed internet access. So for you to have to either physically get at the time it's not even CD. The software are being loaded to what they call floppy disk, and then you have to load it, install it into your PC. It just make it more difficult for Netscape to compete with Microsoft. So ended up Netscape was defeated. Um, and then because of the way the internet has enabled a lot of people be able to connect online more easily. So, eBay was founded at that time as a way for people to um, trade selling things. So so the term a lot of people refer to as marketplace is an internet marketplace. Some of the other names like Airbnb, Uber, Facebook are all basically started about that time, but nowadays they have become very big companies or in those spaces. Um, I mentioned AWS because of Amazon. Amazon is Google started the search engine. They have Gmail, and then later on they offer Google Cloud services, so people can build their internet business on the Google Cloud. And then Amazon start to offer Amazon cloud services. So now they currently, I think Amazon is quite prevalent in the cloud services, and and they have expanded now on that was the original business plan for Amazon. Original business plan for Amazon was to provide a online um, marketplace for books, so you don't have to go to a physical bookstore to purchase a book. They look at the business model, that how they build out the online business, and look at the need to have a common service for people to build other services on cloud. So they actually make the Amazon cloud available for others. And in the last decades, social media becomes a very, I guess, a powerful platform because it allows, as the internet becomes built up more and more, and so that's why it's very important for internet to be neutral and also be freely accessible versus the. Now, I don't want to get to some of the debates about why couldn't some people charge more for their high-speed internet services if so that people can benefit more based on how much they pay. So I think internet is it's a service that should be that basically democratize a lot of the social aspect of things. So that should be really be kept independent from the typical commercial interest. So another thing, around that time, actually, it probably started even as early as the 2000 era, is the clean tech. So you got companies like Tesla and also ChargePoint, which is a train station. Those are the companies start getting funded. So I forgot the exact year. Let's see. So Obama administration provided two $500 million loan to two companies. One is Tesla and one is called Solendra. Solendra is a solar technology company that did not survive. They actually filed for bankruptcy and not returned. But Tesla actually was able to utilize that loan and be able to um, build out to a multi-billion dollar company and be very successful and making a great impact in terms of also uh, not from a business point, but from the climate change impact of the electric vehicle. Continuing forward, solar is still a big part of the clean tech. Uh, and mobile and app is still going to continue uh, as a platform to go forward. So one of the things I forgot to mention is that software as a service. So there's a company called Salesforce, which was founded by uh, the name of the I just blank out this, but he came out of Oracle, which selling software. And what he foresaw at the time was that a lot of software installed onto the computer itself, you have to maintain updates. It's cumbersome for a lot of businesses that really don't need to spend a lot of times and resources on the infrastructures. So they come out and provide their software as a service. Is mainly focused on what they call CRM, or customer relationship management uh, software service. So you just pay for a service. You don't have to know how many, where the data center is located, how often they back it up, because that's all taken care of by Salesforce. So some of the technology impact, this my a lot of this is my personal view, is driven by macro trends in the world. Um, so one thing is the climate change ecology, and I go into a little bit of detail after this. Um, and there's another term that is you will see more and more coming is the fourth industrial revolution. Uh, and then what I see in the future is the technology is so good, and because we can, so there's going to be autonomous. And then the last part, is a kind of a personal focus for mine in the last 9 months of how to apply technology to support the aging population. So the technology that I see, I bucket into four key areas that would drive some of these future trend going forward. One, as everybody talked, is probably an overused term, but it is very important going forward. Artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is kind of just like today. What we look at is some of the basic technology for that runs on the computer. So running is no longer is running software is no longer sufficient. It's running software with the intelligence and also the continuous improvement, not from the human look at the algorithm and try to improve the algorithm, but using machine self-learning teaching so that the machine can actually self-improve the algorithm. MEMS and sensors. So a lot of the wearable and IoT devices have been able to get smaller and smaller because there's a lot of in this area where a traditional sensor that used to be the size of now is the size of like the size of a piece of gum or less than that. So therefore, you can get it into much more daily usable form factor. So actually, if you look at your smartphone today, it has tons inside. now with smartwatch coming out, same thing. There's a lot of sensors and other technology integrated. Wireless communication, that is one of the area that will continues to have significant improvement. So 1G, 2G, 3G, each of those cycles used to be like 20 years or 10 years. So 4G, we'll talk about like 50 years ago. I think it's the actual deployment has been for the last 10 years. And we're now already generation of communication. And there are already discussion about 6G for even faster and more efficient communication. And then the power energy, both from smaller devices and large devices. So technology, first part, artificial intelligence. What you see is continuous investment in both hardware and software. For students studying right now, or where you want to start your career, those are the places you can also start looking at. The company doing that are expanding in this area in AI chip, about specific company building specialized hardware, and there's a ton more building artificial intelligence and machine learning software. So the second part is the MEMS and sensors. So there's tons of so the MEMS and sensors companies. There are many of them around the world. One the most looked at right now is the sensors for cars, like the LiDAR technology, because of the autonomous driving. But also in the wearable space, where people are talking about wearable sensors, so that people can be used for health tracking continuously. Um, So the third party technologies, so today it's I put into four buckets. And for wireless, so 5G is basically for wide area wireless communication. Wi-Fi is more for the local area or confined area, but still you can in terms of wireless communication at relatively high speed. And in the per what we call personal network by the technology of Bluetooth. So Bluetooth, as most people know, if you have a wireless headset, that's basically it has decent communication speed. It has limited distance up to about 100 meters. Um, and but also the battery life will also be a little bit better than Wi-Fi devices. So a lot of times people smart last battery on your last smartphone takes a little longer, and you not always be on the internet. Then they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi capability to your Wi-Fi because it's the power consumption. And then last one, there's a bunch of technology like LoRa or MBIT, LTE-M, to very bit and very a very low power. So some of these are basically used in IT device that device, for example, they can actually run off a battery power for 1 year up to 2 years, because once every 2 hours, and then the data bit is very small. They're not transferring. So it's for application that requires and they will actually go very long distance. That's the difference versus the Bluetooth. So, but at this point, we don't know which one's going to win out yet. It's still relatively new. And the last part of technology is around power. So one of the reasons we still haven't seen everybody has a smartwatch on the wrist is because one, probably the good ones, the name branded one like the Apple Watch, are quite expensive. The other thing is the power. So far, there are certain. I mean, the Apple Watch will last maybe up to 3 days continuous use, and then you have to charge. And then there are other watches or other where they will last longer, but then they don't have as much functions. And the other area is solar power is still not very efficient today. So that will be continuous improvement because this is a free energy source. So there's recent a announcement of a company has actually a technology that integrated solar charging in a piece of glass. But the efficiency rate is down at 10 to 15%. So it's not very efficient. But because it's translucent, it can fit into any glass in a way then it can be in a lot more places. It can replace regular window with regular window glass with this solar windows and be able to get at least 15% of the efficiency from solar for charging. That is still pretty good. And the battery technology, this is raw electrochemical improvement in the chemical composition, how to make the battery last longer, be able to charge faster. Uh, this is mainly in the traditional battery. On the right hand bottom side, this is about more wireless charge so that you can actually charge your device wirelessly without having to remove your device and put in the charger or connect it to a charger. And that's continuously improving. So these four technology area, a combination of them will build allow you to many solutions for energy, smart cities, smart factory, healthcare, and that type of applications. So since I'm an engineer, I'm still even though I am in the business side, I focus a lot on the business side, but I still focus a lot on the basic science and facts. So change is it's a fact. It's just unfortunate some people have been not studying not willing to study the science. So that's what is driving the clean energies. The energy, the wind energy is also a power that can generate water, right? Um, and then electric vehicle, that's one of the reasons why driving forward is the emission of CO2 from vehicles. Engineering is one major causes of CO2 that causes the um, greenhouse effect. So the one thing that I think a lot of improvement needs to be put into the energy storage. So if you have a Tesla, recently I also bought a company called Solar City, and they actually offer you a pack that you can put in your garage, so you can actually charge up your battery, store in your garage at the most efficient time. Charge your car at any time. Where and then hydrogen. So I've been driving a hydrogen fuel cell Honda Clarity for 2 years now. So hydrogen fuel cell actually is another clean energy source for motor vehicles. It has not been talked a lot because the heightened awareness of Tesla and electrical vehicle. However, in the California, because before I leased the car, I did a lot of study to this space. California, by law, they have to embrace a combination of green technology for their motor vehicles. So hydrogen fuel is one of that right now you see some of the buses, I think in Oakland, are actually run on hydrogen fuel. So the byproduct of hydrogen fuel cell is water. So basically, you combine hydrogen, which is H, with two oxygen, you got H2O. Okay, so the World Economic Forum chairman, Klaus Schwab, make a statement. They said basically the industrial revolution will affect every aspect of our human experience. And I think we already noticed a little bit of that. And what is Industry 4.0? So back where we're using steam power for driving a lot of the industrial application. That Industry 1.0. As we start to have electricity back in the 19th century, Then upgraded to what we call Industry 2.0 or manufacturing assembly type applications. And then in the 20th century, now we incorporate a lot of robots and IT systems to automate the manufacturing productions environment. And going forward into Industrial 4.0, this factory is a lot of autonomous system. As some of you might have seen, these uh, they call autonomous robots in the factory, so they can actually automatically go to different parts of the warehouse to pick up items and scanning. Another example is if you have a chance to look go through a factory tour at Tesla, there's a that can lift things for spray, spray painting of the car, actually used for installation of dashboards and other type of things. So, Industry 4 will actually make a both impact from an efficiency standpoint of how factory can produce stuff, and also from a job employment standpoint, because a lot of the manual process that was that was done by human will now be by robots. But the good thing about some of the strength is not that always going to be replaced. It's just the skill set needs to be replaced. So all these robots still needs to be programmed. Skill. So another thing is because we can. That's why I said, because the sensor technology, we're getting smaller and better, and then we have computing technologies can have faster communication with 5G network. So autonomous will be in everything. Cars, these are basically no, basically they can be wheelchairs in the hospital. They can be for the chairs that they use to push people to between the in the airport, between the gates. Um, so this is for the last mile delivery of items. Um, Obviously, you've seen some of the concept autonomous trucks, so by Tesla. So this is a picture of a autonomous sanitizing robot using ultraviolet C ray, so they can clean a hospital room, especially now with COVID-19. Was that people are paying a lot of attention to be making sure that everything. The next thing also is C, where the ship chips for containers are going to be highly automated with autonomous technology. And even in the airline industry, they talk about maybe they can only need to have one pilot, not a co-pilot, and another to fly an airplane. So the places already outside the U.S. have already employing drones for delivery goods. So the regulation still needs to be catch up because right now there's the main thing is that everything has to be done safely. So you have to factor in different conditions to make sure that it doesn't cause other type of this type of capability will cause other type of impact. And then this is a personal drone that people can that they can fly a single person from for short flights. The last part is the aging population. I don't know how many people have really paid attention, but because of the COVID-19, I think now this awareness has been heightened because all of us have parents or grandparents, and if they are in the older age, they be in nursing homes. So a lot of us will not be able to visit them, see them because of the COVID-19 restriction. Uh, so this population actually is very rapidly around the world. So in 2015, about 12%. Around 2030, it's going to go up to 16, 17%. And then by 2050, no, basically 20% of the worldwide population will be over 60 years old. So around this time, basically, there's a crossover point. The number of children under 18 will surpass by the number of people over 65. The good thing is the technology we have enable people to live longer. Now, on the other side, there's challenges for people who are living longer in terms of healthcare. So projected contribution of 50%, 50 plus population to the overall growth of economy in the healthcare space is going to go up like 4 times between now, 2018 and 2050. And housing and leisure, those are a large area that on one hand are challenging, and the other hand is present opportunities for entrepreneurs to with new solutions. I'll give you one. I don't think I covered that in my slide. It's a company called GoGo Grandparents, and they basically offer a 800 service for people who do not use smartphone, and they or you want to order your grandparent who does not use a smartphone. So they are very creative idea that you can build business model on top of that current infrastructure. So hopefully there will be better solution to help people to age as go forward, because I currently a lot of attention has not in the past has not been focused in the aging population, but that because the growth of the aging population, I think this is the right time for the entrepreneurs and the rest of the industries to people to start focusing how we can actually, in addition to keeping people live longer, is can we help them to live longer at a graceful manner. So final thoughts is around the current situation impacted by COVID-19. So I think, especially with this month, a lot of the businesses are reopening. So what's the world going to be like after COVID-19? One thing, everybody, I'm not the first one to see that, is there's no business as usual like before. Everything will be different. Now, same thing, actually, if you look back in the not related to the virus and the other type of impact. So, for example, the development of internet technology for the last 50 years. I mean, when I joined digital back in 1980s, we have our own version of internet. It's not called internet. We have our own private network. We can email to each employee, no problem. Do a lot of things internally, but we don't have an email system at the time to communicate to another outside company. We still have to rely on faxes. There was and that's why internet was formed, and maybe that could be another talk, to allow the different schools to talk to each other and different labs to talk to each other. That's how it was formed back many years ago. So coming out this contactless would be a major area. So until we have a vaccine, we cannot we make sure that services are we cannot avoid. So contactless will be driving a lot of the different applications. For example, payment, right? So some of us already use Apple Pay quite often. So that will be even more, I think, used in the future. Sterilization of different things. So so we the surface can be clean when people touch them. So because at this point, again, because we still don't have a good way to prevent that people from getting sick, catching the virus. So obviously, health equipment is a continued development, partially specific to COVID-19. Now work from home more and more. So this is good. Zoom is good, but I'm in the room with you. I'll probably will pause and ask for feedback more often, make it a little more interactive. So more collaboration too to allow that those type of things to happen. And then I don't know how many of us actually log into this through a VPN. So haven't been with big computer companies. So because we have our own network, we know how to protect our network. So cybersecurity for the general population, I think, will be also be heightened because security is as everybody on the same network. So this concludes my presentation, and I welcome if you have any questions.
Hello.
So, hey,
Oh,
just, sorry, I need to break in because we are supposed to have a break at 20. So I want to wrap up before, and then we'll combine the Q&A with the networking. How does that sound? We can have a
Good.
break.
Yeah.
So for now, let me share the screen. Let me share the screen a little bit, okay? So.
Michelle, right now you're going to. Are you saying you're going to take a break right now?
No, let me wrap up. Let me wrap it up first.
Okay, I see. Go ahead.
Yes. So this is important because this is a special class. We combine it together. And so before we take a break, because at 20 we're supposed to take, so before take a break, let's take a screenshot, okay? And then we can combine the Q&A with the networking because networking. All right. So right now, everybody turn on your camera. And remember, smile. I'm the one to do the screenshot, okay? And Hannah, so you can also provide get a review on YouTube so people see us as a group. All right, Tita, I'm happy you join us. So would you sit up for the camera? Yeah, sit up a little bit. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. And Kiran, Eric's here, Philip. Okay, so you need to look at the camera. I know you look at different screen. All right, how about, oh, all right, are you ready? I need to look at the camera too. So 1, 2, 3, please. All right, let me see. It actually it's good. So thank you so much. Now let's take a break.
Okay.
And then we come back at 7:20 and we combine Q&A and networking together. All right. So now I'm going to turn on the music. See you in 5 minutes. Welcome back. Let me go back to here, Q&A session. This is important. Before we continue, move on to the next session, let's give our speaker, Joseph Wei, a round of applause. Thank you so much. Wow, this is wonderful.
Excellent.
Yes, it's a big feast of emerging technology, and it gives us an overall picture. The last 100 years, how does technology evolve and transform? So thank you so much. Now is our job, okay? It's for interruption and about asking questions. This is my favorite. The ability to ask questions is the greatest resource in learning the truth. Okay, so we need to train our ability. All right, so let's turn on our mic. Okay, so Yao, you ask question, right?
Yeah, actually, what an outstanding talk. Thank you very much, Joseph. I actually learned a lot myself. I know a lot of the Silicon Valley background, but it was just it was great to listen to your talk, and particularly, I thought it was of high interest listening to your four the present global trends as well as the four key technologies. Shut up, please. I also wanted to mention because in listening to your talk and comparing it with what IT was doing, we self-funded when we started turning ITU around and making it profitable and having a little excess money. ITU started self-funding 6 research labs ourselves. And when I look at your list here, it makes me kind of proud because you list as your 4 key technologies, AI and machine learning. So we had a joint AI and robotics lab with Peking University, which is, as I'm sure Joseph, China's, Harvard. And we've had that lab, I think, for 13, maybe going on 14 years straight now. So even before we had American accreditation and being recognized by the Ministry of Education list for national schools, we already had a joint lab with King University. In terms of MEMS and sensors, we actually did, I went with Dr. Dominique Schmidt, who heads up our bioelectronics lab. Dr. Schmidt was looking to create the world's first artificial pancreas. However, we didn't have the money to cover the entire scope. So we cut down the scope of Dr. Schmidt's vision to doing a sensor technology that would basically take blood and figure out the blood, the glucose level using different light sources, infrared as well as laser against the skin. So it would be both wearable. It would also be non-invasive. So, and we actually went because we were looking for graduates to join the lab who had men's background. And at that time, that was about, I think, 5, 6 years ago, maybe 2012-ish, I'm thinking, maybe, yeah, so even longer, maybe 8 years ago. Dr. Schmidt and I, we traveled around China to all of our contacts in China, and we went to maybe 5 or 6 universities, one of which was Fudan University,
Mhm.
and yeah, and Dr. Schmidt said, it's very hard to find people who've actually done this kind of hands-on project work in even in the best United States schools. But when we did hit Fudan, we found the student name is Bruce Wang, and he indeed had done MEMS a project, and so we brought him on board, and so and we have I think 2 patents right now in bioelectronics regarding Dr. Dominic Schmidt's invention. In terms of wireless communication, and we Dr. Carl Wong, who I guess quite famously is the project head for Hitachi's HS5 or SH5, I think it's called. It's the world's first high performance, low power chip. Amongst the nerds, I guess it was a pretty big hallmark. And then the other one Dr. Wong project led was the Power PC, which unified the PC Microsoft platforms with Apple. Before, I guess they were split. Apple was using uh, uh, Motorola as
Motorola.
their, yeah, whereas I believe PC and IBMs were using Intel. And I guess 8 companies all gathered the resources and made the RPC, and Dr. Carl Wong was the head of that. So he did that, and then came after retirement. He's an MIT undergrad and PhD in electrical, and he headed up our RF uh, and chip lab, and we created a smart chip because we had uh, some uh, some contact in China. China at the time was looking to privatize some of their basic services. In this case, power. So from their run enterprise, they chose a couple of executives to split off and run a private uh, a company, and they would be running, I think, 4 key municipalities within the Beijing city. Uh, and so they were looking for a partner as they couldn't themselves develop a smart chip for uh, smart grid energy stuff. So Dr. Wong developed a chip in our lab specifically for that purpose, and that chip had RF technology in, so it was able to communicate to the web and be installed in every smart building that was going up in China, in Beijing rather, and all the way down to if there was one big factory machine, the chip could be installed so that in real time, all of these chips would be communicating on the web to a centralized, I guess, server or some AI technology, actually that we were building through Eric, uh, and thereby it would have been the most sophisticated and advanced system of real-time monitoring and distribution of electricity anywhere in the world. So we also have patents in that too, and that covered both your wireless, your power energy trends. So I too, and these labs I funded, started funding in 2008. So by listening to your talk, I feel very uh, good and hopeful because the first project that I chose was in the AI and robotic lab with Dr. And kind of like the guru for algorithm at Google at the time. He was headed up that laboratory and is still involved with us. And he said, "Okay, well, yeah, you got me here. I can help do stuff, and we've got some funding. So, what would you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm really interested in following my grandfather's vision, i- providing the infrastructure on a city level that could then service all of the citizenry in under the city's umbrella, and so you could give a lot more services than you could to say one neighborhood. You'd have the scale to actually do that. So I said, on a city scale, this is back in I think 2008. I said, at some point we're going to need self-driving cars. So our first project was autonomous automobile navigation systems, of which Dr. Eric Chen headed up. And uh, later, then Google bought Stanford technology thing that we did about, and that became the Google car. So we had to slightly switch our focus so that we didn't compete as Eric at the still with Google. But anyhow, just listening to your talk makes reconfirms in my own head that ITU has been doing our job, which is keeping up with the trends in the Silicon Valley and furnishing our students with the very latest. And Joseph, I really hope you and I get more of a time to check in. Are you still in Mountain View? If so,
Is in Cupertino.
oh, great. Okay, great. I'm in Santa Clara and in San Jose. So let's definitely trade contact information, and I'm gonna definitely find a way to pull you into this organization. Do you know Acorn
Oh yeah,
campus?
yeah.
David
Woohoo.
Sang and Sandy Chow, and those are like two of our former board members. I'm close with them still. Were you with
You mean Acorn Fund, Acorn Campus in Cupertino?
Yeah, right. I think
Yeah.
they're on.
So when I with Ventec, invested in four startup that Acorn invested in. That's I
Huh.
got it back in 2004. So I was with Rick James, was one of the partners. The members, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I'm sure we know a lot of the similar people, and your talk is not just fascinating and informative, but uh, yeah, I can feel the hint of kind of a very similar philosophy that you have, even though you don't press it that hard. But I can tell that you similarly with ITU want a better globe and are seeing things that way with the knowledge base that you have. So very
Yeah,
much, yeah.
yeah. I think, especially I think COVID-19, it's a global issue for it's in every country right now. Particularly, I think Silicon Valley. What I've noticed when I spent almost 20 years, including my high school time, Boston.
Right.
So at that time, we were also very computer tech centric. So I think missed the boat of C wave, and that's why that. So some of the companies you may have heard of, but your student might never even heard of them, called Data General, Computer Vision, Computer, Wang Lab, Dr. Wang from Shanghai, Wang
Right.
Lab, the first
Right.
word process computer company, all disappear because they missed the trend of the PC. Uh,
Wow.
so now I came out here, have been since 1996, so 20 years, and Silicon Valley. So I also that's why I'm passionate about the Asian population because I'm Asian. So six, so and then we all have parents, we all have grandparents, and it's amazing that sometimes we we don't really think about the best way to allow them to age gracefully. Besides just sending them I think I shouldn't say it's the worst place, but they call aging at home is the ideal situation. But on the other hand, when you have problems that you need assistance, then you have to go to the facilities, and some of those facilities they could be better equipped with technology to serve the residents much better. As simple as now, there's a translator. That's my personal situation. There's a lot of facilities, but for my parents, and they speak Mandarin, right? So a lot of places they said most of our nurses or staff members speak Mandarin, but if you have one of those pocket translator, right? So
Right.
basically, very simple to use, but they have to be trained. They have to understand and also understand how they can actually incorporate the technology into these facilities to allow them to people of different ethnicities.
Oh wow, fascinating. Again, the idea that Dr. Schmidt had with the bioelectronics lab that we funded and NIT was that again kind of on a bigger scale, a city building scale. What the trends we saw, like for America, of course, the number one expenditure is military, and number two, Social Security. But then three, very significantly, is healthcare costs. You kind of mentioned a bit of that, and arguably, especially in the 1980s and into the 90s, the argument was made that American companies were becoming non-competitive wide market because of healthcare costs that were soaring for the big corporations that had to be under U.S. law and forced to give their healthcare. So, seeing that that is a trend, I think for all developing countries as to follow the U.S., we were looking at, how could we really help the world? And we were looking at, of course, particularly China because our contacts are over there. How could we help China and the whole world really with cutting down healthcare costs? And we've seen a lot of this, I think, now, and especially with COVID and the COVID thing right now, you see a lot of more online uh, doctor-patient meetings. But the idea at this time was to create a like a watch, a wearable device using this light technology, laser or infrared, to have uninvasive monitoring under the skin of biometrics like glucose levels, and to practice for utilizing technologies to do preventative medicine, because I think it's something like 87, a very high percentile of healthcare cost is in the last few weeks of life. So like the last, just the last few weeks. So nobody wants to see grandma die. Even though cancer is everywhere or something like that. So you know, we were looking at, okay, if you push preventative care somehow more efficiently, then you really can take down healthcare costs in a very major way. So, I mean, in the United States, just like with lockdown, much more difficult because there's, much more of a focus on individualism in the States. But I think in China, where it's a communist run, quasi or new communist, they can say mandate people to wear wearable devices. Actually, I think they're doing it for other reasons now, for security, but then they could also just push technologies to, for example, merge that with Chinese culture, which uses cheap herbal concoctions to bring down blood sugar levels or uh, you know uh, hypertension or whatnot. So I think those have been all of IU's laboratory practical research avenues towards the four trends that you've mentioned. Um, but I hope I can come grab you and at the very least have you on our advisory board. Joseph, you're so deep and so broad. It's great to hear all the things you have to say. A lot of wisdom.
Well, thank you very much. So I have to give a plug. I know because I know some people were sending me that we have people from watching from the YouTube live. So I
Yeah.
sent some invitation to my colleagues. I've been a member of IEEE, the Institute for Electrical Electronics Engineering. So I got benefit a lot through my colleagues who are specialized in these areas. We hold a lot of technical meeting, and I try on some of these technologies. So also from an investment standpoint, I think how do you pick the sometimes it's a combination of things that you have to look at the macro trend. I mean, and that's why I focus my talk around what I foresee as the four macro trends, and then the technology. There's a lot more technology, so I'm really focused on the electrical part of technology. I haven't even touched on the life sciences part. So I encourage this. I want to paint a very encouraging picture for the students of ITU. Is to pay attention to what the macro, and then also pay attention to what you experience on your own, because you have everybody's situation is a little bit different. And then look for the first when the first robots things start coming up. I think that talks about singularity, right? But the thing is, robot does not build robots yet. So who's going to program a robot? So if you align your skills around how to design and program robots, I mean, there's still going to be a lot of opportunities there. And if you look at the last, no, that's why I include the industrial revolution. So each revolution is driven by technology. We didn't have electricity, so we have water power, steam power. So there's a bunch of work, jobs created that. Once we have electricity, we have other jobs created. So every technology revolution, it obsolete some of the job. But I think as society, or good citizens of the earth, we need to advance the contribution of everyone with whatever the best knowledge we have, and also making sure that we maintain a good balance of the ecology of the earth. I mean, that's why I included the talk about energy because of the climate change.
Huh.
So, Michelle, you need to unmute. Yeah.
Yes. So we just combine Q&A and networking together. You can see already, Yao and Joseph, they are already connecting, and hopefully we can create energy between two organizations. One thing I want to ask is, Joseph, there's a lot of things going on. You already said that we focus on macro, how technology and how technology relate to yourself, right? Could you spell out, some takeaway how emerging technology is growing so fast? Technology comes and go, and sometimes could place new stress in people, right? So how can we keep up of all those new technologies?
Uh, so there's only 24 hours a day, and I always encourage actually now. I've that study. Now I've looked at quite a bit of research studies about amount of sleep that you people really need is a way to maintain better health, right? So nobody knows everything, but just pace yourself, and then focus, um, certain kids. No, I mean, there's no, you look at your own interest, what interests you. So for me at this stage, now I'm lucky that my children are all adults and they're working. I don't have to worry about them now. The thing is, I'm lucky. I still have my mom and my mother-in-law, both are in the 90s. So now, how do I take better care of them? Because now that I still have a lot of energy and ideas, and then I can work with a lot of people. So I don't want to go back to 10, 15, 20 years from now and say, oh gosh, I wish I did something 20 years ago. And yeah, talk about what about the healthcare. So the system actually in the US is changing from the traditional base now to outcome based, because again, sometimes unfortunately in a society where it's very capitalistic, is driven. But the thing is, the Medicare cannot afford to continue to pay, especially you mentioned about the last few weeks of the pay for patients extremely.
Yeah.
And so now pretty much the incentive is and insurance also going up, right? So insurance company now is motivating the outcome based, so they can actually work with the healthcare provider to come up with better solution. And you mentioned about COVID-19 or kept at home, so there's a lot of what we call remote patient monitoring becomes a whole big thing, because in the past the incentive, it's not the incentive, but if we are in the room, networking must be it's much effective versus we're on, because we still have to do this like see many people through the camera by not interacting. So the preferred method to go into a hospital for examination, because some of the examination cannot be done, but because it says it, remote patient monitoring.
You did say I shouldn't take up everybody's else's question time. I hate to, but it's so fascinating. You mentioned that because these high tech companies that were in the East Coast in Massachusetts, because I mean, obviously Princeton's over there, MIT is over there, Harvard's over there, uh, you know, but because they weren't in the Silicon Valley, they missed the whole PC trend, and therefore Wang Industries and those you mentioned kind of just died off. Um, is it? I mean, can you say a little bit more about that? That it sounds like it's not just so going to MIT is only half. Is only giving you half the what do you call it? You still need to actually be in the Silicon Valley in order to get the full picture. That's kind of one of the takeaways I got of from what you mentioned today.
So I haven't only been here for 24 years, right? So studying the history of the venture capitalists, so we have venture capitalists basically making very big bets. There's another computer company that most of your students might not have heard of. It's called Tandem Computer. They
Of course.
make non-stop computer system. So venture capital is a new breed of kind of investor. So people are some of them really make very big risky bets, and that it turns to be very successful. So I think that I mentioned about the what is Silicon Valley, and it's the ecosystem. That's why we have a lot of people, a lot of visitors into Silicon Valley. Say, the number one question, Joseph, how can my country replicate Silicon Valley? I say you just can't. Yeah, not even Boston, New York, Austin,
Wow.
Seattle,
Wow.
because the ecosystem here is very unique with the school system, with the venture capitalists, with the serial entrepreneur, and then the big existing Facebook. So the ecosystem that the Facebook, the Google, the Intel already built up. So there's a lot of things that now. Look at 30 years ago. There's no Facebook. There's no Google. There's no a lot of these companies. So it's not that something anybody can easily replicate. In Boston, it's more like lots of great schools: Harvard,
Right.
MIT,
Mhm.
Northeastern, UMass, and Tufts, and but we didn't. We're not a investment center. Investment center is in New York, right? In New York, it's all about financial. So they invest in a lot of fintech, not in like computers, and so the ecosystem is not quite the same because of the physical locality. I think they are separate by the distance. Like I said, I don't have a quantitative answer to, but the nice weather of San Francisco. I give you an example because it has happened 9 times when I was in Boston. A snowstorm canceled the meeting. not make it. But here, it's like, wait a minute, we can even go out 9 o'clock at night, have a meet at Starbucks that's still open at that time because it's nice. The weather is nice, so we can actually get a lot more out in the day versus
Interesting.
in other places.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Okay.
So I saw a question about that came in. I think
Yes.
about the what's after Moore's law.
Right.
So it's been Moore's law has been challenged a bit. I think it is going to be something totally different because part of the Moore's law actually has nothing to do with technology. Is twice the performance in half the price, right? So Intel can determine half the price. So they always make that. That's why in the past that people say, oh, from whether it's 14 microns going to 7 microns, yeah, it won't work when we're down to 1 micron. Now, technically, now we might have some really physics challenges to go I mean, on the physics side, right? But on the Moore's law, on the pricing side, I mean, Intel can continue to make that equation work. Um, I don't remember off the top of my head. I read some articles about how Moore's law will still continue, but not through the traditional lithography or other type of technology, but maybe a different type of technology because getting down to less than 1 micron, it just requires a whole different fabrication.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, this is from YouTube as well. We also need to engage audience in YouTube. Thank. Well, again, this talk is also about personal transformation, so that students and audiences they can relate to themselves. So one thing I noticed, you were engineer, electronic engineers at the beginning, right? But then you converted into venture capital, venture technology group. You founded that company. So how did you make transformation happen? Could you spell it out specifically so people can?
Well, there's many steps actually. So I was lucky. When I worked at digital, no, I was very well trained because at the time digital was basically competing with IBM. So and computer is all about B2B. It's big business. Until basically Bill Gates, Microsoft said, no, his vision is one PC for every household, right? So in the past, it's always you had to go to your company to get access to computer, and and then because of the way some of these companies are structured culturally, it's like some of the tech company in the Silicon Valley, a product manager actually is a very important role because you are the center of the spoke of the wheel. You coordinate all the effort around your engineers, manufacturing, or your software developer, all the aspect, financial people, to make sure that whatever business you support will actually work out the way you plan. So I came out here. So I spent 25 years probably in product management, product marketing, until we talk about when I was at Ventec that partnered with Acorn Fund to invest in 4 startup companies, and I got interested. I mean, it's very interesting how a startup company can start very small and become very successful company and make significant impact. And then in 2014, when the China company 360.com, so some of you might heard of it, the full name is Qihu 360. The chairman wanted to establish a presence in the Silicon Valley, and one of the challenges, so 360 as the largest anti-malware company in China, and one of the challenges is how do you protect IoT and wearable devices? They know how to protect smartphone, tablet, computers, but IoT wearable is a whole different architecture. So my suggestion was to work with startup, and then if we have a startup creator, then we can talk with the startup all the time, and then we can actually learn what the insight will be. Because no, there's no real. I think a lot of the no market forecasters. I mean, I don't think anybody can have a crystal ball for the next 10 years because technology is so unpredictable. Uh, but the thing is, I think getting involved with the ecosystem in the startup, then you get better way to gauge which technology. For example, MEMS and sensor. I've been following that for the last 5 years. It's like um, a lot of devices that were yeah, we mentioned about the glucose monitoring. So in the past, there's always a little device that you have to prick your finger and draw blood. Now, a couple companies that they have patches actually that you put on your arm, and then they have micro needles. I mean, they still use it, and but to use a contactless device, they can actually touch that patch, and you'll be able to collect your glucose information, so you don't have to keep pricking your fingers. And longer term is to have a continuous wearable device that can continuously monitoring your glucose level because if you have type 1 diabetes, I mean, it's a very serious condition that so people really need to pay attention to their glucose level all the time.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think now is 7:59. I think unless we have one more question, otherwise we'll call it for the day. How does that sound?
Yeah.
Well, thank
And
you so much.
now your students can always, I got my email. And so another thing, through the IEEE organization, we have
Yeah.
14 student chapters in the Santa Clara Valley area. So I interact with some of them quite often. And so it's a good nonprofit organization, especially for engineering students to connect with the professional world before they get out, they graduate from the universities.
Remind me we had that conversation, and in fact, so this is a good time to promote the triple student chapter. So we'll talk about that, and if you listen to the talk and you're interested in how to keep up with emerging technologies, that will be the one. Okay, so one of the way to get involved closely. So thank you so much, Joseph Wei. And I think you have a heart to giving back and educate the next generation. We really appreciate that.
So last thing for students, I think I graduated in 1981, so that was not a good year. I mean, it was another now a down year, especially for semiconductor. But the thing is, I always look for keep a positive attitude. Just look for the new thing that's coming because technology is just the one thing that is constant is change. So you have to make sure that you adapt to the change and be part of that chain of new changes, and you'll be able to find yourself a good place in the professional world.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll follow up with your ideas and start from there. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. As you see, this is serious once every 3 weeks. So we'll see you in 3 weeks. Okay.